Hello there, Cancerians. Michele B here. I have a little reading that I spread out for you. Just a little heads up. If this storyline that I'm playing out doesn't resonate with you, make sure and check out your placements for your rising, your moon, your Venus, and your Mars on my channel or on any other tarot readers channel here on YouTube. There are lots of us here, and you'll probably find some specific advice that you want to know. Otherwise, I give just like general guidance that would make sense in any time of your life, right? It just, okay, I could use that piece of advice, right? And then the second thing is, if you hear a lot of racket going on, like I'm in a coffee shop or an outdoor cafe, it's because there is a coffee shop outdoor cafe right outside my window, and it's a beautiful day. I can hear pancakes being eaten and people chattering, children laughing, things like that. It's wonderful, 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 beautiful, late summer morning. It's wonderful to be outside, and it's wonderful to be here giving you a reading. So I sense that interestingly in this reading, I like to speak about three main things. And that's like career, work, creative projects, and for a feeling of purpose in the world, but also romantic love. And these are also things that people want to know the most about. Sometimes it's leaning more toward, your purpose, your work in the world, and sometimes it's leaning more toward what's going on in your romantic relationships. Cancer, for this one, I'm feeling a lot more leaning toward romantic relationships, even though this could be a work environment that you put your heart and soul into as well, that is playing out in this storyline that I see. And so first I'm going to look at what to embrace and what to leave behind, like in a more general sense. And I want to say the affirmation that I started everything out with is I choose a growth mindset, which allows me to adapt, improve, and thrive. We should always have a mindset that we're not limited to what it is that we see right now. We should know that we're always improving, always growing. That's just the nature of the universe, constantly expanding. It's a drive to create that perpetuates cellular organisms, right? We gotta create, even if we get like just making more of ourselves. So we're always being driven to go forward. And right now you're like, why is this not moving? You're leaving behind a phase where you're like, this isn't growing, nothing's happening. It's just the same stuff. I put so much energy. See, he's the farmer that's like looking at his crops. He's like, I did that, right? You've done that. You've put so much time and energy and effort into a connection or into the work that you're doing. And you're like, where's the fruit? How is this benefiting me at all, right? So you're moving out of that phase. Perhaps you made some decisions, some decisive moves here, being the Queen of Swords, and this is the phase that you're going into. You're looking out for Cancer. Cancer's looking out for Cancer. Hey, no more bullshit. You see how she's got her eyes closed? She's like, I don't want your emotional bullshit. Give me the truth. Give it to me straight so that I can make an educated decision, an informed decision. I can't make a decision if I don't know what the reality is. Like, don't like pussyfoot around me. I need to know the truth. Right? Because I feel like in this internal landscape spread that I spread out, there's a lot of bullshit going on, particularly from a Knight of Wands kind of character that's pissing you off, right? We had 3 knights come up in this reading, 2 of them in the internal landscape and 1 of them in the advice. I feel like you've been through a lot of wishy-washy crap. For those of you who resonate with this storyline, right? It's really pissing you off. All of this like in and out. I'm passionate and then I'm not, right? You're over here, you're over here, you're over here, you're over here. And you get drugged with them. These people that are all over the place, can't decide what the fuck they want. It's really pissing you off. And so finally you just said something. That's where that Queen of Swords came in. Finally you were just like, well, that's enough. The way that you're behaving tells me a whole lot more than the words that you're using. And like the thing about Cancer's ruled by the moon and the ocean. The moon rules the ocean, and Cancer is just so much like the ocean. The ocean can absorb, or the ocean will feed you. The ocean will nourish you. It will comfort you. It will regulate the temperature around you, make you so comfy. It will take all your trash. Just throw your trash in me, right? That's what we do. We just throw all of our garbage in the ocean. It's so big. No worries. It can take it, right? But if you don't respect the ocean, it will fuck you up. And that's where you've gotten. You've been disrespected for so long that you're like, no. And they're lucky. They're lucky that you're an enlightened soul, Cancer, that you haven't lashed out on them. You know that dwelling on vindictiveness, trying to get them back for what they've done to you, what they put you through, is not going to help you grow spiritually, economically, physically, right? So you're like, that's enough. Stop. I'm going to treat you like you're just a normal person. Or in a work environment, I'm going to act like just a normal employee, like most people, all of the other coworkers that I'm around. I'm actually going to like act like a normal person with you instead of being like over the top, taking really good care of you. We have the Nine of Cups is in the reverse, and so is the Six of Wands. And so they're both saying like, it's a little bit of self-pity, knowing that you want more, but also feeling like, why don't I ever get the appreciation I deserve? So a little bit of that's going on. I feel like this Knight of Wands character is like trying to make amends. Your work environment, they're trying to like make it so you stay, kind of thing. And you're just like, I see you here, like, actually, I don't really need you. Shoulders crossed. I don't really need you. I don't feel like there's a lot of issues with making a decision. There are none of those cards are here. It's all about doing the decision. So there's no like, you know exactly what you want, and you're just like, there's no other choice. I'm going forward. I'm growing. The reason that the affirmation is here, that you choose a growth mindset, is because you're trying to get yourself out of the limitations that you were in when you were tied up with this person and they were holding you back. But you don't want to do that anymore, right? So in the advice, we have the King of Cups that's come in. Often it represents Scorpio in the archetypal personalities. So this could be a boss, it could be have Scorpio tendencies. It could be that your significant other that is in question is a Scorpio or has Scorpio tendencies. It doesn't have to be a masculine, it could be a feminine. A very manipulative kind of character. You see it for what it is, okay? No matter how nice they are right now, their nature is not going to change. All right, so you already know this, but there is a little niggle that's just like, well, maybe it's going to be different. No, it will never be different. I'm hearing this advice coming back, bouncing back at myself right now. No, it will never be different. It's always going to be, they're always going to be who they are. Okay, so what's your focus going forward? You know that you're capable of so much. And if you don't put all that extra energy into a bottomless pit, you could be focusing on putting all that extra energy into you. Now, if you're thinking, if you're, working on some kind of a breakup, a romantic split, and you're like, what are my potential possibilities later? We do have the Knight of Pentacles and the Ace of Pentacles are both here, which represents something new coming in, a new beginning, but it's not necessarily like sweep you off your feet romantic. It's slow and steady. There is a potential for like a sexual relationship, but I don't really see that being like significant for you. But what it's much more about is a slow and steady growth in the economic and physical sphere. So a slow and steady improvement in your physical health, a slow and steady improvement in your bank account and your business opportunities, because you have so much more energy to give to yourself and your own growth potential now that you've released the stress of trying to control what's going on with someone else. You're letting them, by pussyfooting around them and trying to keep them happy through their manipulations, you were trying to control them, essentially trying to keep them happy. Now you don't care about controlling whether or not they like you, okay? So you release control and moving toward growing for yourself. Finally, we have the Fool to end out the major arcana to close out the reading. It's the only major arcana in the whole reading, and I love that it came out in the final position. It's like, it's saying, bottom line, give it up to God. The source, universe, whichever higher power you identify with, your guardian spirits, your angels, give it up to them. All the concern about what's going to happen next, because I do sense there is a concern. Where's mine? How do I get there? What's going to happen next? The great unknown. We're always a little bit afraid of the unknown, of what's going to happen later. That's perfectly healthy and normal. But it's like you're being guided to the next phase of your life. And you had to go through that. The Fool's definitely telling me that you had to go through the phase that you just went through, even if it was a lot of bullshit. You had to open your eyes and become this person. You were too soft. You were too much like a mother. You were too caring. You're too open, too generous for too long. You weren't. There's nothing wrong with being generous, but you got to look out for yourself first. Sadhguru had a quote that, and I can't remember exactly how he phrased it, but he was like, be selfish in a selfless way. Because ultimately the lens is always ourselves. The lens that we look at the world is always through our own identity, our own ego. And so it's like, if you're going to do something for someone else, you also have to consider how it's going to benefit you. If you're being selfless in order to control someone else, or in order to control, a work environment to like be beneficial to you in some way, it may not, if you think like, if I just keep them happy, then everything's going to be fine. It may not work out so well for you. But instead, if you focus on, I want to do this because it gives me pleasure, because I enjoy it, or because it's something that, because it's something that can pay off for me eventually. Both. You got to balance all that out. I can ramble on and on and on about attracting wealth through loving your work. I'm gonna close it up. You're growing. You had to go through the phase that you were in. That was part of your growth, of learning how to let go of whether or not somebody likes you. Okay. Now that you care much less about whether or not people like you, you can be more confident going forward. Because if you're like, actually, I'm still okay whether people like me or not, then you're just going to go ahead and speak up about about offerings you have for services, about things you have to sell, finding better jobs. You're just like, I don't care whether I get the job or not, because you're learning how to, it's like breaking the cycle of dependency that you had as a child of pleasing your parents. It's a lot. There's a lot of that went on in what happened before. And now you're like, I'm actually a grown-up now, and I can just go ahead and say what I want. And if I don't want it, I can say I don't want it. And I don't care whether or not people like me, because I like me. Oh, you're liking yourself a lot more lately. I like that. All right, Cancer, this is where I leave off. I'm going to see you in a couple weeks. Thank you for sticking it out through the whole reading. I'll see you later. Bye.